Hey there. So here's some tips for homework problem number 5 from the text. It says, what is missing in each student's understanding? Anne said, I had -3 times -2 times -1 equals +6, and you marked it wrong. But you said when you multiply negatives, you get a positive. And you're trying to identify her misunderstanding. So first of all, where was when you said multiply negatives, you get a positive? Well, so when you think about the net result of what we're doing, so for example, up here, you can actually see it. It says -7 times -5 must be +35. And so typically what happens when you multiply a negative times a negative, it becomes positive. So the misunderstanding here, you just want to say why, in this case, when you're multiplying negatives, does this one turn out to be negative? And that's just because they multiply in pairs. So when you take 3 times -2, that's positive, but then times -1 would be negative. Because 2 negatives multiplied together make a positive, not just any number, right? So an even number in pairs, they become positive. So an even number of negatives being multiplied gives you a positive, and odd will get you negative. So tell me something a bit about that. Okay, for example, when you see the -3 times -2 times -1, these two together will give you +6. But now you're multiplying two things that are not both negative. And so that's why you get the -6. Okay. For Bobo, he says, you said 2 negatives make a positive, but when I did -2 plus -3 equals +5, my mom said it wasn't correct. So when you're doing -5 plus -3, that's not multiplication. Okay, so you can't use the rule that 2 negatives make a positive, right? It's when 2 negatives multiply together give you a positive. Okay, so you're just kind of trying to correct the details in their thinking. Then let's take a look at some of these problems, and we can see kind of the negative rules here, or the rules about the negatives. So if we're using chips and we're doing -7 times -3, okay, this is my group. So my group is 7 red chips, because my reds are negative. And the -3 means we're going to take away, because it's negative, 3 groups. So we are going to take away 3 groups of 7 red chips. Now, when I multiply, I'm going to start from 0. And if I'm trying to take things away, I can't take away stuff I don't have. So that means I'm going to have to start from somewhere. And so anytime we're trying to take away, we're going to start with sets of 0 pairs. And so if I'm going to take away 3 groups of 7 red chips, then I'm going to start with 3 groups of 7 0 pairs. So that'll give me 1, 2. There's a group of 7. And here's a third group of 7. And I want to make sure there's 7 0 pairs, so let me give you the positive corresponding parts there. And now I have lots of stuff on the table. And so now I'm going to try to take away my 3 groups of 7 red chips. So here's a group of 7 red chips that I'm taking away. Here's a set of 7 red chips. And here's a set of 7 red chips. So now that I've taken away 3 groups of 7 red chips, I'm left with 21 yellow chips, which is equal to +21. Okay. And then you're going to write me a little explanation about what you did, okay? When it comes to number lines, like -2 times -3, the first number is our jump size and where we look. The second number is how we move and the number of jumps. So that means what I'm going to do with this one is I am going to look at the negatives, because the 2 is negative. The -3 is negative, so I'm going to move backwards. Sorry, it's bath time in our house. And then we are going to jump 3 times of size 2. Okay, so here's what that would look like. By the way, we always start at 0. So at 0 is where I'm going to start. Shh, 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 shh. Wait 1 second, Sweet Pea. Okay, well, Daddy's going to change him. You're okay, Sweet Pea. All right, we're starting at 0. We are going to look at the negatives, and we are going to move backwards 3 times size 2. So there's 2. Another 2. Shh, 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 shh. You may not do that here if you're going to cry. I will help you in 1 second, but you can't do that while I'm recording the video. I'll be right with you. Thanks, love. And so we end right here at positive 6. So 3 times jumps of size 2. We end at positive 6. So my answer here is positive 6. And again, you're going to write that up in a solution.